Tired of everyone telling you to find your passion, but no one telling you how? Welcome to the Sherine Connection, and I'm your host, Sherine, an attorney with a passion for empowering others to use their many talents and skills towards a path of self-discovery and alignment. Join me as I share my personal stories, professional insights, and practical tips, and how you can connect the dots between what you're great at and turning your passions into purpose. Let's connect. Push it to the left, I can't go no more. Make it like no, I'm coming back home. I'm trying to roll on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Yeah, I'm coming back home. Write my name in the stone. Cause I'm coming back home. Cause I'm coming back home. Hi, everyone. Thank you and welcome back to the Sherine Connection. Today's episode is a very special one for me. I'm talking to my friend, one of my best friends from high school. Sherine Cummings is here as my first guest on my podcast, and very intentionally so. I think that she's one of the people who know me to the core. And so you would find her very interesting as well. She's also an attorney. And so I just want to introduce her to talk about how does she connect her passions to purpose. But first, I'm gonna Sherine, how are you?
Hi, good. Hi, everybody. I'm nervous a little bit, but I'm doing good.
Welcome to the Sherine Connection.
Thank you.
And so, my first question to you is: do you remember an encounter? And then, if you do, just give us a little. Just tell us about like what you remember our encounter to be in high school.
Oh, in high school. That was quite some time ago. Not giving out numbers here, but that was quite some time ago. But I remember that we knew each other in high school. We would go to lunch when we had the same lunch period. I think that was our senior year. I want to say that was around our junior and senior year. I remember you were at my Sweet 16 party. Yeah,
that's
up the
true.
Bronx.
Yes.
I remember that. So we've known each other since then. Mm-hmm. And then our senior year, we were going to lunch together. And then college came around, and I think you went to the University of Albany. You went to SUNY Albany, and I went to Haverford. And I think we didn't have connection for maybe after the freshman year, because freshman year, everybody keeps in touch with everybody. And then we might have lost touch a little bit after that. Yeah. And then we saw each other again at a club in the Bronx. Mm-hmm. Which some Jamaican club, was it Weddy?
Some club in the Bronx, some dance hall club in the Bronx.
Yes. That was
And then what happened?
We saw each other, and I remember we were dancing, and then we reconnected there.
No, she ran up to me and said, "Sherine!"
That sounds
and I heard somebody screaming my name from across the door, and she ran up to me and gave me a hug on the dance floor.
That sounds about right. That sounds right. That's just me.
That is you.
That is me.
That is how we reconnected. But I want to go back to talk about our connection in high school. It wasn't, just like you mentioned, it wasn't so much like a profound relationship that we had in high school, but we had connected.
Yes.
What was it about our connection that made you even want to remain connected, or thought that the connection was valuable enough to reconnect later on in years?
You know, at that time, you don't know that you want to maintain that connection, or that you will maintain some kind of connection or reconnect. Quite honestly, at that time, I think we connected. We were in a DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx. We were both West Indian, had that West Indian connection, that West Indian background. We were in two different programs. Mm-hmm. So I don't even remember how we initially met. Right. If we had a class together or something of that nature, because we were in two different programs.
I ultimately switched over. So you were in the Macy's program, and I think you perhaps went into the Macy's program in its inception since you enrolled.
Yes.
I came in the general population, and because of my grades was asked to go into the Macy's program. Okay. I think I was in honors, just regular honors at that time. Right. So they asked me to join the Macy's program, and I think once I switched over, that's when we started
connecting in class. And so, in the school connection, we're both West Indian. And at that time, Clinton was predominantly Hispanic, and others as well, but it was predominantly Hispanic. And so we had that West Indian connection, and we were both from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Our parents both immigrated from Jamaica. So not just West Indian, we were Jamaican.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that much of an accent by then, but I think that's how we connected. It was that we had the love of science, because for the Macy Medical Honors Program, it was the Medical Honors Program. We had a love of science at that time. We were both very smart, and we were the elite of the elite, because that's what they taught us to believe that we were. We were the elite of the elite at Clinton High School at that time. So we had that connection, that education connection, that cultural connection, and that we remained, and you were just genuine. You're just a genuine person. You've been the same person since high school.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.
It's just, so we had that connection, and it's just natural how things fall through the cracks, because I am horrible sometimes with keeping that connection. You are amazing at it. But
I'm
I am
intentional about it, about keeping the connections.
I have periods.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, because life sort of gets in the way, right? But you have to be if it's of value, there's some intentionality you have to kind of display in order to maintain a connection. But you touched a little bit on culture.
Yes.
And to what degree did culture play a part in your development, your Jamaican culture, and how we connected?
So I was the first, one of the first of my family born here in this country. So my family immigrated here, and then I was born here. But I had spent so much time growing up in Jamaica, going back and forth, that I had a thick accent when I was younger. And back then, in elementary school and junior high school, it wasn't popular being Jamaican. That was
Right.
before it was popular.
It was on some cool running vibes, like very colorful and loud, and
where people were making fun of me
Yes.
for having an accent. And so, growing up with that, it was very different. And finding people who looked like you, who thought like you, who had a similar drive to you did, because it didn't matter. I don't think I knew what you wanted to be, quite honestly,
No,
at that
at
point.
all.
And I definitely wanted to be a doctor at that point. So I had a complete different path.
wow. I don't think. Well, I mean, Macy's program.
Yeah, I was
yes.
in the Macy. That's why I was in the program. I had, mentors who were hospital administrators and things of that nature in the medical field. I definitely wanted to be in medicine. So we
Yeah.
didn't have that specific connection, but we had a drive. And our culture gives us that drive, because when you come here from another country, you just have that, it's a different drive. You want to make that American dream happen for your family. And I felt that from my family,
Yeah.
which I believe you also felt, that
Yes.
you came here as an immigrant.
Right.
I don't remember how old you were when
10.
you came here. Oh, so see, you came here as an immigrant, but we had that same drive that we want to achieve that American dream and be that for our family, and to have that for our family.
So I understand the idea of wanting to be that for your family, but how did you find that internal drive to want to get into the Macy's program, to stay having good grades, to have stay intentional on your path and what you had planned out for your life? How did you find the inner drive?
I always wanted it. Seeing my family struggle when growing up, I always knew that I wanted more. I always
Did you
knew that I
always
wanted
knew
better.
that you were going to be the one?
I didn't
in
know
your
I was going to
family?
be the one at that time, no, because I have older siblings. So I didn't know that I was going to be the one, but I knew what I wanted,
Right.
that I wanted more, that
Yeah.
I wanted better, that I
Yeah.
wanted to set up my family, my mother, my father, in a certain situation, my grandmother, who is my heartbeat.
Yeah.
And she was the first person here. I'm very, very, very close with my grandmother.
Can you remember when you made that decision for yourself? Like, how old were you then?
It was even in elementary school. I knew that I wanted more.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to be more. My parents instilled those values in me, that I was worth more. And I was going to get everything that this country has
Right?
to offer.
And it's not that and I know your family well. Obviously, they're my family,
Yes.
too. And it's not that they are they're not impoverished.
No.
Right? Family in the
No.
Bronx, you guys are, guess what you would consider to be sort of middle class
Yes.
for that, for that neighborhood, for that. So
But seeing, my grandmother at that time was working 2 jobs to buy a house for our family. My father was working nights at
Yeah.
first. My mother was working various jobs as well. And it was a family of 4 kids.
Yeah.
And, but also having that family community, if anybody needed anything, it was always somebody else to fill in.
yes.
It definitely takes a village to grow up, to not only raise a family, but to grow up and to be. And I knew I wanted more.
Yeah.
I knew that I could also have more.
Yeah.
My parents always told me that I could have more. So they instilled that in me in a very young age. And I was always very good in school, to the point of, testing out and things of that nature. I knew I wanted more. And I knew that I was going to go get it.
And I think that's so interesting because even though, when I came up, we started from nothing. My mom had came up maybe a year or two prior to us arriving in the States. And I think we were all bunking. We all started, all the family members that migrated from Jamaica all started out bunking in my grandmother's 1-bedroom apartment, right? And they all sort of make it work until they were able to cycle themselves out.
Yes.
So, our beginnings were very... aren't that similar in terms of the resources, but looking from the outside with you sort of having already being in a home or a private home, and from the outside it looked as though you had a little bit more in terms of resources, but obviously on the inside you don't know what's going on. There's still internal struggles that's happening with the family, financial struggles. People are working, like you said, your grandmother's still working 2 jobs, your dad, so on the outside it may look as though you kind of have it figured out, but there's still you still had the opportunity and the drive within you to want more than what you had.
Yes, and it was still that connection, even though I wasn't the one who was in, my grandmother's 1-bedroom apartment. But when my family first came here, they were in one apartment together until they branched off.
Yeah.
Until they brought those homes and they worked those 2 and 3 jobs that, West Indians are notoriously, had at one time.
3 jobs.
Right, the 3 jobs
to
make sure that they can have that for their family. I just happened to come along where they were a little further along in that growth and that process. But that doesn't mean that when family came up, we were still in one house.
Got it.
And it was when our first home, Matthews Avenue, big up on Matthews Avenue in Burke. But we were all, it was a 3-family house. But so we were all in one home. So we were all together in one home. And even after that, it was still a 3-family home.
Yeah.
We were all in one home. So they were able to branch off, but you would still have that family connection.
Yeah.
And that's something that was important to me and still is to this day, having that family connection and that friend connection.
And, obviously our paths led us similarly to law.
Yes.
But in in high school, up until doing debating for me, and my coach seeing that talent in me, I hadn't really thought about a world of law. I didn't know what it meant to be an attorney. So how was that experience for you? Did you know any other attorneys in your life? How did you even come to the pursuit of law as a career? Or did it even start for you in high school?
It didn't start in high school. So in high school, I was still on the pre-med track. Okay. And I applied to college pre-med. Honestly, my mind changed after I accepted I went to Haverford College in Pennsylvania. It came after my acceptance where I was like, I want to go to school and find what I want to do. Law really just happened to be one of those things that I found. What is it that I like to do? I like history. I like American government. I like, those were hence why I became a political science major. So that's how I fell into political science.
All the things I hated, by the way. I just thought that was the path for law.
And at that point, when I chose my major, I didn't even know I wanted to be a lawyer. It took me going to a Women in Law and Public Policy conference. So I wanted to do public policy. My love of American government and politics. I wanted to write public policy. I wanted to write education policy.
How are we friends?
Education policy. But we grew up in the Bronx. We grew up in a public school system in New York City, the biggest public school system in the country.
Yeah.
I wanted to work for those students who were just like us. I wanted to write education policy. So I went to this conference, and then I realized you could do more with a law degree than you can do with a public policy degree. Oh, okay, not a problem. So that's how law fell in my lap, to combine what I love.
Did anybody play a part in suggesting that to you, or you came to that realization on your own?
Just during that conference, honestly, that Women in Law and Public Policy conference, I thought I was going to be in politics and public policy, and I didn't know that I could be a lawyer and still do public policy. And it's like, but being a lawyer, going to law school allows me to do a lot more. I can still write law, and maybe I can do other things. And so that's how that's how law fell into my lap. But I was open to that, but I still had the passion and the drive to do something, and then to find a degree that will help me do that.
That's amazing. I think that takes such good self-awareness for you to even, that's what college is for, right? And sort of you're in a discovery phase. You're trying to figure out what the next step is.
And it's scary.
It is very scary because literally time is running out.
Yes.
After, freshman, everybody is new and you have time. But before you know it, it's friggin' junior year, right?
And you have to declare a major.
And you have to declare a major. And then after sophomore year, you sort of have to, you're course selection are a little bit more pointed, right, towards that ultimate thing. So you sort of have to start thinking about it. But it's interesting that for you, you were able to have that level of self-awareness to come to that determination that law is something where it's going to lead you closer to your passions. Whereas for me, it wasn't even something I recognized within myself. Like, had I not done debating and my coach saw that I had this sort of presence, or the way in which I talk to people or connect with my audience and being able to communicate effectively, he would never, that's the only reason why he suggested a path of law to me. And it ultimately became my ultimate career.
And it makes sense because you can do so much with the law.
Yeah.
And that's really what I learned during this conference, that you can do so much with a law degree.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, okay, a JD is it for me. And then that's when we saw each other. I mean, granted, we reconnected at the club, but then we saw each other at a law conference. I remember we went to a conference and we saw each other there.
Yeah.
And then that was it for us.
Yeah.
And when we saw each other there, that was it.
Yeah.
That was Sherine, you're here to stay. You're not getting rid of me.
Yeah. What did it mean? What did it mean for you when we reconnected and found out that we were both in law school?
That was like, it was like, wait a minute, you're in law school. Like, what are you doing? I think we were out of the state at that time, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like we were out of state and saw each other at a conference.
No, I think because I did my studies for the bar at Pace.
No, this was before you graduated, because I remember I was a 2L or 3L and you might have been a 1L or 2L. Because when you studied for the bar, I was already finished.
Oh, that's right, because you graduated a little bit early.
Yeah, I graduated before you did.
But did we? I don't remember.
We saw each other it was some kind of legal conference, and we saw each other.
Okay.
And it was just like perfect click. Like, okay, someone, you're interested in the same things I'm interested in. We have the same background. We clearly like to enjoy, the same things in terms of culturally and what we like to do. Yes.
Put it out there.
Yes, dance hall. It is a passion. But we like the same things, but we also have the same drive.
Yeah.
And we have the same goals.
Yeah.
And it's important to connect with those people, because not only do I know what you're going through, you know what I'm going through, and we can help each other.
Right. And in my first episode, when we talk about finding the drive, one of the things I emphasize, and where I talk about you and all those people that showed up for me during those very developmental stage, is talking about how being connected, especially to culture, it gives you a sense of familiarity that I needed back then, with the whole dialect and the assimilation and, all acclimating to a new environment, new school system and everything. But being able to find like-minded Caribbean folks was like an integral part of my progression, right? Because you have some sense of community that gives you support, right, that you need in order to push past whatever it is you're dealing with presently.
Because the truth is, life is not easy.
Yeah. And
it helps if you have people who you can lean on for different phases of your life.
Right.
And you and I have been able to lean on each other for a lot of phases of our life, because we have so many different connecting points and connecting dots. We have the culture, we have the background, we have age, we have the same degree, we have the same experiences. So we've been able to connect on multiple pages and multiple phases in our lives. But it's important to have that, because life is not easy.
Yeah.
And so, having somebody who's also going through law school, who knows, I need to let off steam. Let's go to a party tonight.
Yeah.
Let's go. You knew that I needed a nap first.
Yeah. Oh yes. I've come to know that rest is very important to you.
Yes.
I don't get enough rest.
No, I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
Like an adrenaline junkie. It's bad.
I've had that question of you for how many umpteen years? How do you do it all?
Yeah.
And I literally call you to ask you, how do you do it? Because I don't know.
And that brings us to like a good point, right? In talking about connecting your passion to purpose, is your passion the same?
Yes.
First of all, what is your passion? And then have your passion sort of changed over the years? And if it hasn't, just tell us how.
I think, my passion clearly has changed if I went from medicine to law. And I love what I do. Even though, if there's any aspiring lawyers, you'll always hear another attorney will tell you, don't do it. You hear but there's a reason why, because it is stressful. It is a lot. And it could be a lot mentally and physically to do the process and to go through it and to have that be your career. So it is a lot. But I've always had the passion of helping others. And that has always been my goal. So even in medicine, I wanted to help others. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to be an OBGYN. I know, how do you go from OBGYN to law? It happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But I always wanted to help people. And even with my law degree, I've always wanted to help people. And I've
Yeah.
stayed in the government path. You know, you can do government. There's so many things you can do. You can be corporate. I've never been that corporate person. But I've always been in government since the last, how many years now? It's been quite a number. What year is this?
So, that's a good
17,
point.
almost 17. Ooh, 17.
I introduced you, but I didn't really introduce what is it you do. So just take us a little bit through your career path since, you, I guess, finished law school.
So out of law school, I started at the New York City Law Department in the Bronx Tort Office, where I defended the city of New York in all cases against the city, from everything from trip and fall, slip and fall, to police assault and battery. I defended all the city agencies. From there, I went to the Department of Education, so trying to get back to my original love of education policy. And there at the Department of Education, I did those proceedings for to discipline teachers for incompetence and misconduct. And from there, I went to the Attorney General's office, where I defended the state, mostly defense of the state, in the state courts, all the state agencies, and same thing I did for the city and all the state agencies. From there, I know I've moved around quite a bit. I went to the Appellate Division First Department, where I became a principal attorney, and I did attorney discipline for the state. So yes, the attorneys are held to a code of conduct, and if you don't abide by that code of conduct, you can be disciplined. So I assisted, I did that for the court for a number of years. And from there, I went to be a court attorney referee for the 9th Judicial District, which includes Rockland, Orange, Dutchess, Westchester, and Putnam counties. And I was a referee where I presided over different parts for the court system. What does that mean? I moved cases along. I did motions. I did conferences. I did hearings and trials for the 9th JD. And then from there, I know I have moved around. I became the deputy chief counsel for the second department, doing attorney discipline for the second department, which is back to being discipline and ethics, which is very important to me. And now I am currently the counsel for the Committee on Character and Fitness for the first department. So I do attorney admissions for the state of New York for the first department.
Don't play with her, okay? That's one of my besties.
Yes.
All right? So very impressive, obviously. But in all of the things that you've done, do you still see your passion being thread through those intentional career choices that you make? And if not, explain.
Yes, my passion is still to serve the public, do something that I love. And even though it sounds like I've moved around a lot and that I haven't been happy, I've been happy in all of the positions that I've had. It's just that opportunities come around. Some of them have been scarier than others to take over, but never being afraid to make those steps and make those changes. And making those changes have helped me to come back to grow to being where I am now.
Yeah.
So it is a matter, it's fear, but not letting fear hold you back, but also having the passion of helping others to serve the public. You know, especially attorney discipline and attorney grievance, I'm serving the public.
Yes. A very important role, by the way, because
it's as an attorney.
You have to be held accountable. Yeah. There's like an oath that you take, right?
Yes.
So you hold attorneys accountable to that oath.
We hold attorneys accountable for that oath. And even in the role that I am now, I'm still serving the public. It's to say I do attorney admissions for the state is really just doesn't account for everything that we do.
Right.
But it also is, a lot of it is some policy work as well. So it's connecting my original love of policy, my love of the law, my love of ethics, all in one position. So it definitely has a thread throughout.
Yeah.
But I'm not done yet. I'm still fairly young,
That's
still moving
right.
on.
That's
and
why
still
she my
willing
friend.
I didn't pay her to say that.
But so you talked about all the things that you've done over your career, which is quite impressive. But you're also a mom.
Yes.
And an owner of a dog.
Yes.
And a husband.
Yes.
So, an owner of a husband. I said that right. It came out absolutely right. But how do you balance those things?
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
It is a struggle. And with all of the accomplishments, my greatest accomplishments are my children.
Yeah. Do you feel bad saying that?
No.
Okay.
That's without apology.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm very accomplished. I appreciate everything that I've had and done in my career, but my babies, bringing a life, nurturing that life, and just knowing that my children, my birth history with my children has a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah.
My first one, I delivered a month early. We were in the hospital for a month before I delivered. So, it's traumatic. My second one was born at 24 weeks. It was a 50-50 chance of survival for the both of us. So the fact that I'm able to grow these two humans who are doing very well and thriving, they are my
How
biggest.
did you do that in
Support.
the midst of all of these things?
You. Support. Support.
Yeah.
Having a village, and not just a family, a village to raise your children, but having a village that you can call at 2:00 in the morning.
Yes.
When you need just to vent or to breathe. Having somebody who's been through it.
Yes.
Because you were a mom before me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would ask you, how did you do this? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Having somebody who can understand that. Having somebody who also has a career and who understands the difficulties in shifting. I'm a mom at this point. I'm a boss lady at this point. I'm a boss lady all day. But guess what? If my kids' school call, I'm a mom at the moment. I got to answer.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It is manageable. I don't want anybody to think that you have to choose one or the other because you don't.
Did it have any sort of impact, whether it was, your dreams deferred, denied, delayed? What, if any, impact did having kids have on your discovery, and you pursuing your passions?
I think I waited until I was in my career to have children. So by the time I had them, I was entrenched in my career that I was comfortable to have them.
Okay.
So it didn't defer it in that way. But if depending on where you want to move within the law, like for me, if I want a judicial position, there are certain things you have to do. And I'm not willing to give up spending time with my children to pursue those goals. So it might be not really a goal deferred, but I've found other ways to achieve those goals. So it's just a matter of finding another avenue to do. It may not be the same road that someone else took. It might be a different road, but it's still a road that you can take as a mother.
That's pretty interesting because in one of my upcoming episodes that you'll see, it talks about like acknowledging the season you're in, right? And I think it's very important, especially for us as mom and as career women, to be able to take time to acknowledge the season you're in because it all sort of rolls over into the other, right? Yes. And sometimes it's very hard for you to even recognize the season you're in if you're in a season of growth or you're in a season of rest or you're in a season of silence, or whatever. So how were you able or are you able to recognize the season you're in the moment? Or is it sort of like a hindsight is 2020 sort of situation?
A hindsight is 2020 situation. In the moment, you're never able to recognize what you're doing. And it takes me calling my friends,
right?
Honestly, to help them tell me, it's okay. You're in a season of rest. That's what you need to do is rest, to breathe, to bring me back down to where I need to be. Because sometimes I can go off the handle. Surprise, surprise. But sometimes you can go off the handle, but you never recognize it while you're going through it. Quite honestly, hindsight is always 2020. While you're going through it, it's just getting through it. But recognizing, for me, when you're going through a tough season, I like to write things down. I know you hate it because I've given you that.
I'm getting there, girl. I'm getting there. I'm starting to journal and everything.
But for me, and it's part of my stress reliever as well, just ticking off the little things. And it makes me feel so accomplished that I'm able to tick off these little things. I mean, I'll write something simple down as getting groceries. Yes, I'm mom winning. I got groceries. Yeah. And it makes me feel better.
And and that brings me to another point. When we talk about as especially as moms in sort of finding that balance, you don't realize that even when you're in the season of, say, even rest, there are still small intentional steps that you can take towards your passion because you don't even realize that you're developing essential soft skills that you may not even realize are really hard skills, right? Yes. That you can use in continuing to connect your passion to purpose. But in the moment of it, you don't think about those soft skills. No. So what soft skills did you find as though you learned being a mom that's able to help you, when you take, in taking those sort of incremental intentional steps as being a mom, it's helping you propel you closer to your passions?
To just breathe. Honestly, I had, because you sometimes you're so high strung and you want to do it so fast and so quickly, and as a mother, you realize that you might have plan A, but kids are going to make that plan A twist and wind.
That pivot, right?
You might get back to getting to look like something like an A, but they're going to make you pivot. And so just relax and breathe and being able to roll with the changes,
Being
but
flexible.
still get on track.
Yes.
But you have to be able to roll with it.
Yeah.
And I was so rigid before. I was probably much more rigid before I had children.
Yes.
But having children have taught me that to breathe.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, some of the soft skills that we don't even recognize that we develop during parenting, it's being, under high stress situations all the time. Being in a situation where you have to pivot and be flexible,
Yes.
right? Meanwhile, you're still being intentional about pursuing your passions, right? Because you still have to take those incremental steps. Like you're not just, nothing is not happening while you're being a parent. Right. You still want to work towards connecting your passions to purpose, but again, it might be a little bit delayed, right?
It might be, or it might just be, and using delayed or deferred are such strong, it might just be turned a little bit instead of being straight. It might just be turned because something was thrown in your path that now you can't walk straight. You have to walk around it or you have to climb over it. And it doesn't mean that your path is unattainable. It just means that you're going to climb that path or you're going to go around that path. However, whatever tools you need to climb or get around that path, it could be that you just need a support system. It could just be that you need to just take a break and see what end goal you need and how you need to get there.
Yes.
And plan that purpose so you can have that purpose planned out. And it just means just take a step back and look at what you want to get to where you need to go.
And one of the big things I think that it kind of teaches you in terms of like a skill is just, especially for people like you and I, they were so independent and you feel like you can do literally everything. Yes. And people call you for everything because you're the one that has to figure it all out, right? Yes. By virtue of, I don't know why, I don't know why. What do you think they call us for everything?
One, we're lawyers. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter. One, we're lawyers and we're the jack of all trades. You literally are the jack of all trades. You have
absolutely.
But also because of personality. It's just who you are.
Yeah.
Honestly, just knowing you for so long, it's who you are. People can call you. I know I call you. I'm one of the guilty parties. I know I call you because I can and because you'll answer, because you'll assist and you'll help. And you'll do it with love. So they can do that. And our families are going to rely on us because we have that JD, because we have that ESQ. And because, that adds another level of you can understand these things because they are immigrants to this country. And we just have that, we're more better able to navigate certain things in their eyes than they are. So they want to rely on us because we've obtained that American dream.
Yeah. And so So just sort of listening to your story, just like this person that had like their own inner drive and their passions and like path and using so much intentionality to switch over from different careers, right? Not careers, but jobs. Yeah. How important was it for you to learn in motherhood how to ask for help when you need it?
That's the biggest lesson that I learned as being a mother. Yeah. Because I am so very independent.
Right.
And you're seen as having so many things under control. And it was, for me, it was mentally even thinking that I needed to ask for help was hard.
Yeah.
And, when I finally did ask for help, I'm sorry, when I finally did, it was like, oh my God, you need help? Like, people are willing to help you. And for me, it was like, wait, you're willing to help me?
Right.
It was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Because the lawyer thing just gives you like a perception that you just have it all together.
Lawyer thing, just drive thing, being who we are.
Yeah.
And what we've gone to get to where we are has built this up in us.
Right.
But being a mom brings you right back down to reality. And it's like, you need help.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to take a deep breath.
Right.
It's okay to ask for help. Yeah, I remember the first time I asked my mother and grandmother for help, and you need help? Like, they were like, yes. I remember when going through the birth of my daughter, and I asked you for help. And you were like, oh my goodness, I couldn't wait for you to, like, you were so happy to have me ask for you for help. And I just remember, and I was like, is that okay? And you were like, of course. And you were there within like 5 minutes. Don't know how she drove there so quick. But you were there. Mm-hmm. And it's motherhood teaches you to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask for help. And using that in your career as well, it's okay to ask for help.
And delegate, right?
Delegation.
Delegation.
Yes. Delegation is important. And when your kids get older, being able to delegate to them.
Oh.
I'm not there yet. I'm getting there.
Neither am I, clearly. I don't listen.
But your babies are older. I'm learning. I'm learning how to delegate.
Phases.
But yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is one thing about me that you think, I guess people should know in terms of, I guess, in grand scheme of this podcast of the correct, in the Korean connection? What's one thing that you think my viewers would want to know about me, being that you've known everything about me since I was like 14 years old?
Yeah. Do they know our real age? I'm sorry.
They don't need to know that.
No, not that far. One thing they should know about you. What you see, what you're hearing from her is her. It's who she is with everyone. This is not a show for her to put on for you, the public. This is who she is intimately with her family, with her close friends. This is who you are with every one of your close friends and family. So you don't have various personalities for different people. You don't turn one thing off and turn on something else. This is who you are. This love for people in general, wanting to help people, wanting to assist in any way that you can. That's who you are and who you have always been in the 20-something years. 20-something, 30-something years. In all of these years, this is who you have been, and you are consistent in who you are and your passions and helping other people. And sometimes it's to a fault where you turn off your own goals and dreams, but it's great to see you investing in you.
Yeah.
And investing in you, meaning, and also seeing you also helping other people, because that's who you've always been.
Which leads into my next episode, which is the power of no.
Yes.
and keeping your boundaries, because it's so important, right?
Yes.
To be able to recognize when you're tapped out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very important.
But thank you for that. I appreciate you coming on the Korean Connection.
May I add one thing?
Yes.
I've in listening to the Korean Connections, because I am still a fan. There's something that you've said that resonated, and I've used this quote many a times, but I think your viewers will really appreciate it. And it's not an original. The author is unknown, but people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I've said this numerous times. I've repeated it numerous times, but I think that it's important because first, you came into my life for a reason, a season where we were, and it became a lifetime because we reconnected. But I think it's important for people to know that things happen in your life for, it's a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and it could be cyclical. So there could be a reason at first, or a season at first, or a lifetime. But it's cyclical, and it's okay to accept those connections that you have with people.
That's awesome. Aww. And that was one of my episodes. That's the second episode, making the connection and keeping the connection. And you see how important it is to be able to keep those connections, because you never know what is the purpose, right? What is the reason, and what reason or value they're going to bring in a season when you need it the most. So I think it's always great to maintain the connection. And with that, guys, thank you so very much for connecting with me again on the Korean Connection, and join us next time. Let's connect. Thank you guys for connecting with me today. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to my channel, The Korean Connection. To connect with me, you can email me at thekoreanconnection@gmail.com. And don't forget that sometimes your passion whispers before it roars. And if you're listening closely, the next episode might be where it gets louder. Let's connect. Push it to the